In this tutorial for Team Yankee, I'm going to go over transports and their passengers. Basically, how do you get into the transport and how do you get out of the transport? I'll be covering shooting passengers in a transport in another video. So there's several choices. There are some that are actual transports. There are also some aircraft that can be used for transports, and also tanks can be used for transports. And the only thing they're going to carry are infantry teams, whether it's a small base or the large base. They carry infantry teams. So how do we know who can carry and what they can carry? So I'm going to look at this card here, and if you go at the top, it says passengers 2. So that means this BMP transport here can carry 2 teams. Now, it could be a combination. It could be like 1 small, 1 large, 2 large, or 2 small. So it's basically 2 stands of infantry. Same thing here with the hind. They can carry 2, so the same thing as the BMPs. And the tanks have nothing. However, in the rule book, they do state that you could put men stands, you wouldn't actually put on here, but they're riding outside and they can carry 3 stands. So let's go over how they get in or on, in case of tanks, these vehicles to be used as transports for those infantry. So I'm going to use this BMP as an example. Most of these rules do apply for tanks, the men getting onto the tank. A lot of them do apply to aircraft, except for they do have some special rules, which I will go over in this video. So they do have some things you do need to be aware of when trying to use these as transports. So this can hold 2. So there we go, 2 stands. To get in the transport, basically, if they can make it up there with their movement, they can get in. That's just keep it basic. They can get in. Then this transport, if it hasn't already moved, can move, and it can go up to its dash speed. However, if it does do its dash speed, it cannot shoot and cannot assault. Speaking of cannot shoot and cannot assault, once these men are in a transport or on a tank or anything like that, they cannot move, or they cannot shoot, they cannot assault. Basically, they're there in this, but they're out of the game for shooting and assault purposes. Now, let's say the transport's up there, and they can't make it to that transport. Well, the transport can move down here. Then they can mount that transport, but it cannot move. So it can only move once, so if it's moved up here to get the men, that's it. Now, let's say the men are in here and they're wanting to get out. So it's the next turn. Can they get out? As long as this has not moved, they can get out. If this vehicle moves, they're stuck in that vehicle. Even special maneuvers like blitz and stuff like that, you cannot use to get them out of this vehicle once it moves. Now, speaking of blitz, you can use blitz. So this has not moved. It's the next turn. This has not moved. They want to get out, but they have like a dash weapon, which they can't shoot if they move. So you can try to do a blitz, because it's in the movement step. That maneuver's in the movement step. They could try to blitz to get out and move 4 inches, and they can shoot at their halted rate of fire, and this is able to go on to do whatever it wants to do after that. So you can use special maneuvers like that, but it has to be in the movement step. Things like shoot and scoot or in the assault step, can't do it. Cannot use these guys or use that to get these guys in or out or mount or dismount the vehicle. The last thing I'm going to cover for this is aircraft. And of course, the Hinds can carry teams that can carry 2. So how do men get in and or mount, I'm trying to use terminology, mount and dismount from an aircraft? Well, unlike this, that can pull up there and then they go, woohoo, we're in there, but then they sit there and have to wait till next turn, or they get in there and go. This is way up in the air and they can't jump up into there, so this actually has to land. Now the men are not allowed to then just mount into the helicopter. This has to stay down here for 1 full turn. So it's through your whole turn, through the opponent's turn, now it's your next turn. They're able to get into that transport. Then it's able to take off. Now, let's say, so you, again, be careful. It has to land. These men are here. Has to land. You have to wait through your whole turn, through the opponent's turn, and all they're shooting at possibly this thing. Then when it's your next turn and it's your movement step, they can mount the vehicle. Now, let's say there are men being transported in this, and it flies and it lands. They cannot get out. They have to, again, you have to wait that whole time until it's your next turn to be able to have these men get out. So when you're using aircraft, remember, it just sits there, and you're going to have to wait till your next turn to be able to get these guys out. Now, there is a way to kind of try to do a quick get these guys out, and that is with the blitz move. So this helicopter has men in it, has these 2 in it. Helicopter's here. It wants to do a blitz. It's the movement step, so it's going to try to do a blitz. It's a 5+. Let's see how we do. Oh, I did it. All right. That means, from what I get, it's only going to be able to go 4 inches. So you can't fly way over here and then do it. Blitz move, 4-inch movement. So it's just going to land. Now, it didn't move. Since it didn't move, these guys can get out. So you can use your blitz move if you make that 5+ with the Hinds. It can land, the men can get out, and if they have a dash weapon, you can try to have them blitz out. Whoa, did it! That means they're able to shoot at their halted rate of fire if they only move that 4 inches and don't move anymore. Now, since this hasn't moved, because that blitz is not considered move, it can now take off and start shooting at tanks or whatever else it wants to do. So in 1 turn, this tank landed, dismounted the men, and is now ready to go shoot some more enemy. And it can move anywhere on the table. But it's going to shoot at its movement rate of fire, which is no big deal for the Hinds because it's always shooting at its movement rate of fire. Okay, so that's embarking and disembarking on transports. And these 2 basically act the same, except for the men are on the outside and the men are inside, which plays an important role when they get shot, which I'll cover in another video. So if you like this video or any of the others I've done, go ahead and subscribe and share it with other people. And as always, have a good game.